with me today a very special collection of books. How many have books? You like the good hard book to sit in a warm room with a cozy blanket, maybe in front of a fire, and read a good book, as opposed to Kindle? I like the hard books.
Smelly one.
I brought this special collection with me today because I have some kind of relationship with every one of the authors of these books. Pretty incredible, huh? Now, how did I do that? The first series is these books here were all given to me by the author at a special event at FIU called the Leadership Lecture Series. And they're full of lessons, full of great content. But that's not the point of my speech today. Now, oh, no, wrong book. Sorry. I don't know how that one got in here.
There we go.
Anyway, here's the funny part. Some of you might know these authors personally. And a couple of you might know two. And at least one person in this room is going to know all three that I bring up. The first one I bring up is this book here by David Iglesias, the Nautilus Project, and he signed it to me. He put his name there and he dedicated the book to me. And that's a connection that I made when this man came up to me after I taught a yoga class at LA Fitness in Doral, and he was stiff as a board. And he brought me a little piece of paper and he said, Gino, can you verify that I came to this class? He was working on getting his certification in yoga instructor. And he needed this verification. And every week after class, I'd see him and he would get me to sign his paper. David Iglesias now owns and operates a yoga studio right here in Doral, where these two people here got their certification. You see the connection?
Yep.
We're going to see connections here. I met Simon Sinek, Leaders Lead Last, in San Diego at the Association of Airport Executives. And he signed this book to me. Leaders Eat Last is a lesson about the Army, where the leaders, when they go to the mess hall to eat, they eat last because they're servant leaders. This gentleman, you might not know him, but he's a very famous Colombian. He's now passed away. Great friend of my parents for 50 years, Eucario Bermudez. He was a radio announcer for over 50 years, lived here in Miami. This young lady was my student from Peru for a class I did at FIU. It was a seminar on construction management, and she dedicated this book to me. He's an author as well. I was at the International Convention, Toastmaster International Convention in Nassau in the Bahamas. And I met a young lady one night. It was the opening night. Nobody was speaking to her. She was attractive. And I said, let me go talk to her. Why is no one speaking to her? And that's when I met Victoria. I don't know how to say her last name, Sokolova. She showed up the next day to my speech, my presentation, with her book and dedicated the book to me. And then I, in turn, gave her my book. You seeing the connections?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody know this lady? Berta Medina Garcia is a member of this club. She doesn't come as much anymore because she moved, but she will be visiting. She had a book launch, and at that book launch is where I got this book and another workbook, and we all got to speak. And it was my inspiration because she was my accountability coach. And every time she would see me, Gino, when are you going to finish that book? When are you finishing your book? When are you publishing your book? And she would ask me every time, and gosh, I had to get it done. I met this lady, you might like her or dislike her, Janine Pirro, at a Trump event up in one of his hotels up north. Fireball of a lady. And I got to speak to her, and she dedicated this book to me. Met Ben Nemtin at an FIU online conference. And this guy made me create, not a bucket list, but 100 things that I want to do before I die. And I have that list. And I'm only like at 65, writing them down. Completing them is something else. I can't even come up with 100 things. So every day I look for things to add to my list. One of the things I discovered, you guys know I like purple, is that there's a purple apple. It actually exists, and I want to eat a purple apple, and they're only in Russia. Ben Nemtin, follow him. He's an amazing speaker. Oh, do you guys know this guy?
Oh. Yeah.
All of these authors inspired me to write my own book. And here's the observation about this. It's not the content of the book. It's the relationship with the author that really cemented it for me. And the connections that I make. I watched it again last night, the famous Steve Jobs commencement exercise speech at Stanford University, where he said, well, you can always connect the dots moving backwards. It's very difficult to connect them moving forward. So I challenge you to make dots and connect them. Magically, it will happen. You have no idea why you meet someone and why they cross your path. But it's a dot that later, magically, will somehow be connected or interconnected. Did you see the interconnections here today?
Yes.
Go make more dots.